Yavat. As it is. Saka. Friend. Sakyu. Unto the friend. Eva. Like that. Isha. O Lord. Te. You. Krita. Have accepted. Raja. The living entities. Visarge. In the matter of creation. Vibhajami. As I shall do it differently. Bo, O my Lord. Janam. Those who are born. Aviklava. Without being perturbed. Te. Your. Parikarmani. In the matter of service. Stita. Thus situated. Ma. May it never be. Me. Unto me. Samunada. Resulting arise. Mada. Madness. Aja. O unborn one. Manina. Thus being thought of. Translation. O my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend does with a friend, as if equal in position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I have no perturbation, but I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme. Purport. Quite a long purport. Lord Brahma is definitely situated in the humour of friendship with the Lord. Every living being is eternally related with the personality of Godhead in one of 5 different transcendental humours, namely Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya. We have already discussed these 5 kinds of humours in relationship with the personality of Godhead. It is clearly exhibited herein that Lord Brahma is related to the personality of Godhead in the transcendental humour of friendship. A pure devotee may be related with the Lord in any one of the transcendental humours, even in the humour of parenthood. But the devotee of the Lord is always transcendental servitor. No one is equal or greater than the Lord. That is a version of Bhagavad Gita. Brahmaji, although eternally related with the Lord in the transcendental humour of friendship, and although entrusted with the most exalted post of creating different grades of living entities, is still conscious of his position. That he is neither the Supreme Lord nor the supremely powerful. It is possible that some extremely powerful personality within or without the universe may sometimes show more power than the Lord himself. Still, the pure devotee knows that this power is vibhati, delegated by the Lord. Delegated by the Lord. And such a delegated, powerful living entity is never independent. Sri Hanumanji crossed the Indian Ocean by jumping over the sea, and Lord Ramachandra engaged himself in marching over the bridge. But this does not mean that Hanumanji was more powerful than the Lord. Sometimes, so you get that Hanumanji, he helped build the bridge by getting big mountains and sort of flying over and throwing them in the water, and he did so much, and then he jumped all the way. I tried to jump from the southernmost tip of India to Lanka. How many kilometres was that? Yojanas?
800 miles.
800 miles. 1,700 kilometres. Take a big jump, take a big breath, right? Jump, and off he goes. He lands in Lanka, right? But it's saying here that Lord Ramachandra, he walked. They created the bridge for Lord Ramachandra. So one might assume that Hanumanji is greater than Lord Ramachandra. But actually, that is the Lord's potency, that he was just endowed with the Lord's vibhuti potency. So This does not mean that Hanumanji was more powerful than the Lord. Sometimes the Lord gives extraordinary powers to his devotee, but the devotee knows always that the power belongs to the personality of Godhead, and that the devotee is only an instrument. A pure devotee is never puffed up like the non-devotee class of men who falsely think that they are God. It is astonishing to see how a person who is being kicked by the laws of the Lord's illusory energy at every step can falsely think of becoming one with the Lord. Such thinking is the last snare of illusory energy offered to the conditioned soul. The first illusion is that he was to become Lord of the material world by accumulating wealth and power. But when he is frustrated in the attempt, he wants to be one with the Lord. So becoming the most powerful man in the material world and desiring to become one with the Lord are different, illusory snares. And because the pure devotees of the Lord are surrendered souls, they are above the illusory snares of Maya. Because Lord Brahma is a pure devotee, even though the first dominating deity in the material world, and therefore able to do many wonderful things, he would never, like the non-devotee with a poor fund of knowledge, have the audacity to think of becoming one with the Lord. People with a poor fund of knowledge should take lesson from Brahma when they are puffed up with the false notion of becoming God. Factually, Lord Brahma does not create the living entities. In the beginning of creation, he is empowered to give bodily shapes to the living entities according to their work during the last millennium. Brahmaji's duty is just to wake the living entities from their slumber and to engage them in their proper duty. The different grades of living entities are not created by Brahmaji by his capricious whims, but he's entrusted with the task of giving the living entities different grades of body so they can work accordingly. And still he is conscious that he is only instrumental, so that he may not think himself as the supreme powerful Lord. Devotees of the Lord are engaged in the specific duty offered by the Lord, and such duties are successfully carried out without hindrance because they are ordained by the Lord. The credit of success goes not to the doer but to the Lord. But persons with a poor fund of knowledge take credit of success into their own accounts and give nothing to the credit of the Lord. This is symptomatic of the non-devotee class of men. Durgame patimendasya skalatpate katirbuhu svakripa yustu danina santu santu lambanam omagyanat timirandasya chinanjana salakaya chaksurun militam yena tasmai shri guruve namaha. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada specifically delineates Lord Brahma's position in this situation that he has. So one very important point is that even though we say Lord Brahma is the creator, factually he is not. The Lord is the creator, that he creates all this material energy. Already the spiritual energy is there, the pradhana, the material energy is already within the universe. So it is up to Lord Brahma, as is said here, to shape all this pradhana, all these elements, there's air, fire, water, the mind, ego, intelligence, all the 15 different senses according to the time element, and to fashion it so the super soul can enter, and then the whole thing starts to activate. So he's the secondary creator. So sometimes he's said he's like that. So the devotee understands his position. So to understand his position, you have to understand the relationship between the Lord Brahma and the Supreme Lord. So early on here, Lord Brahma is saying, hey, although I'm your friend, I still understand that your, how's it go? The translation, "Oh my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend does with a friend, as if we're in an equal position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupying your service, and I shall have no perturbation, or what we might say, have no problem with the fact that I know that you are the Supreme Lord. So I'm praying to you that I don't give rise to the false ego of whereby my prowess I fall into the illusion that I am the Supreme." Actually, these prayers were uttered by in a similar fashion in the Bhagavad Gita by Arjuna in the 10th chapter, where he just said, "Oh Krishna, please, I know you have the supreme absolute form which you've shown everybody, certain people, the universal form. Could you please show me the universal form?" So when Krishna began to manifest this universal form with the time element, and Arjuna and all the armies framed in this, everybody was framed in this whole form. And when the time element started to speed up, and all the armies started fighting and just all getting destroyed and going through the jaws of death, and then he saw all the different incarnations of Krishna, and he saw all the planets revolving around at the same time. It just got too much for him. He said, "Oh my Lord, please come back to your original form." And he was praying like, "I made this mistake. You are the Supreme Lord, but I'm thinking you're my friend. We associating, we're laughing, sporting, having pastimes together, just like you're my friend." So Brahma's saying the same thing. We're shaking hands. But both of these great stalwart devotees are not in the illusion that they're thinking that the Lord actually is anything but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though they are blessed with the relationship of having friendship with the Supreme Lord. So right in the beginning here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very clearly delineates Lord Brahma is definitely situated in a humour of friendship. So Srila Prabhupada mentions the word humour about 8 or 9 times here. It's a very, sometimes the English language sort of leaves some form of definition of a word behind, so it's almost like that. Sometimes we think the word humorous means something to do with funny. That's how we see it. But in this particular instance, I would say that the definition of humour would be like a joyful relationship. Anybody else like to elaborate on that in this context? But this is how it seems to come across, that we have this humour of different relationships, particularly in friendship. So Srila Prabhupada delineates the 5 types of relationships, which are, just for the sake of staying alert and keeping our energy levels together, are what? So what's the first one? Starts with S. Shanta. Second one starts with D. You're a school teacher. Third one, Sakya. You're a school teacher too. Vacha and Madhurya. Right, so Shanta means neutrality, Dasya means servant, Sakya means friendship. This is what we're talking about with Lord Brahma. Vatsalya means parenthood, and Madhurya means intimate conjugal relationship, Madhura Rasa, the highest, deepest, intense love, like is shown by the gopis for Krishna. So, to sort of put it into perspective, we can say that there's 5 states of God realization, and the first one, say, is Shanta. right? So it means neutrality. Shanta means just a neutral aspect. So some people might have a look around. We see this philosophy down at the bottom of the hill quite a bit that, wow, man, look at nature. Isn't it wonderful? Spring's coming and birds are in the trees and the leaves are growing. But everything's just amazingly like clockwork, that spring comes and we have, certain birds eat certain berries, and then all the animals give birth to their young, and there's a sort of order within the nature. And what really amazes me lately, my realization is that all these planets are aligned to the infinite degree, that the sun and the moon and the stars, they're all aligned in this straight line, they're all revolving around to the second, so we set our time to them, and they don't wobble out of alignment. What is causing that? And then we're just in our solar system is gravitating around a bigger picture. There's the pole star up there, but we don't actually know from our perspective of modern science. It's very hard to put it together because it's just so complicated. We think that we've got really intelligent. This is a classic example of Srila Prabhupada is saying that with our intelligence we can create so many wonderful things like watches and computers, and we can manipulate the material energy to such a degree that we can fall into the illusion of thinking that we're the spring. But anyway, Krishna's master plan is amazing, and even our body, how it goes through all these different changes. We just simply look at it, and what a wonderful structure. It's more complicated than any other machine by thousands of times, our material body, so many moving parts. So someone in the Shanta Rush may say, hey, there's an intelligent, it's called intelligent design. Someone's designed this, a greater intelligence that's beyond us. So sometimes there's like the people who don't believe in God can go down that way. So to accommodate them, we call it intelligent design instead of creation versus just being someone. What is it? A creationist, that there is a supreme being that's created us. We say, yeah, intelligent design, someone higher intelligence. They'll go along with that and they pay respect to that. And that is really good, because then that person may come to the realization that he's a being that's being created to be in harmony with nature, which is fine. So the second type of one is Shakya. That is the position of awe and reverence. So sometimes that person in Shantarashi may be convinced by someone that there is a person that is greater than us, that he is the one that is creating all this, and have a look at the different scriptures that say this. And then we have the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita. So many of these are saying that God is there is a God, and then he's created all these living beings. So that has been coming down, and that's called the tradition of religion. And even though it is being eroded at this point in time by the illusion of people who are intoxicated by material wealth, still it is there and it is doable. So that type of faith comes in the category of awe and reverence. God is great. Allah Akbar, like that, and so many other sayings. Oh Father, white in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So it's all worship. So where that leads to is that we understand that God is He is there, He is the creator of everything. So if we please God, then we will be able to exist in His creation very comfortably. So that leads to some fulfillment of material desires. So if we want something, we pray to God. And that is valid. In the Bhagavatam it says, Akama sarva kamava moksha kama darati tivrina bhakti yogana jijate purusham param. That if you want material desires, okay, pray to the Lord. If you want liberation, pray to the Lord. If you want Krishna's lotus feet, you also pray to the Lord. So it is all there. So rather than go anywhere else, just pray to the Lord. So the Lord will fulfill desires. Sometimes you see the devotees, they come, they get frustrated because they're trying to get a job and they don't get a job, and they complain about it. You know, I need to work, or I need a husband, or I need a wife. And sometimes the Lord just says, well, if that's all you want, there you go. There's one classic example of one devotee that was here a few years ago. He was so close to becoming a lawyer, and that whatever he did, he only needed 3 weeks in a lawyer's office to become a lawyer. And after like 1 week, he'd sort of get 1 day a week, they'd get 1 day every 2 weeks. He kept getting closer and closer, but he just wasn't getting there. He was becoming so frustrated. Then finally he did become a lawyer. Krishna gave him, okay, you want to become a lawyer. He took off, he's gone. You know, I haven't seen him since, right? So sometimes Krishna fulfills these. If that's what you want something, hey, that's easy. Bhakti's a lot harder to get than that. If you want me, then you have to try harder. You have to win my faith. You have to win my confidence. You have to start a relationship, make a connection, and work on it. It's just the surrender that is there. We have to surrender to the fact that the Lord is supreme. We have to understand that in our relationship with the Lord. So we give up our own mentality of trying to enjoy sense gratification in this material world, whatever is there for us. So that is the second one, that is dasya. So the third one is what we're talking about at this point in time. It's called sakya. That is one of friendship. So there we cross over. So awe and reverence is always there, but befriending the Lord is immediately you come to a platform of an intimate connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is a very difficult thing for people sometimes to cross over, to understand that the Lord is a person. Just like even in this awe and reverence that God is great, we can say, you know, the greatness of this universe. There's so many different descriptions. Allah Akbar, but who is Allah? Our Father white in heaven, who is Father? There is not much knowledge, so people tend to think, well, the Father, he is this great energy that is coming down, beaming down, and we could be a part of this energy. The speculation starts. There's no concept of there's no defined concept of a person. So then we cross over to a person, and that personal relationship is a difficult one, crossing the barrier. We take someone from down the bottom. They love chanting Hare Krishna, it's beautiful, so blissful. We were just all in bliss last night chanting the holy names of the Lord. But then we take them to the temple and say, here is Krishna, here's a representation of the Supreme Person. And then the difficulty starts. There is a person who's more supreme. How could that be? How is he a supreme person and I'm not? It's because actually the Lord explains that the Lord's form is spiritual. And as it says here, he is Ajah. That's the first statement that Lord Brahma makes. Oh my Lord, you're the unborn. Just I was asked the question last week is, where does Krishna come from? Like, you know, he comes here, where does he go? Where does he belong? So Krishna has always got the same body. He comes from his own place. He comes from the spiritual world. So people who, with a sure fund of knowledge, will speculate that God manifests himself in this material world in his form as Krishna or whatever, 8th incarnation of Vishnu, and then he goes away and he becomes unmanifest. He becomes one with the Lord. He becomes one with everything, just like we are. So people cannot identify with the Supreme Lord as being spiritual, but Krishna says, hey, I come in the same spiritual body. 16-year-old youth, Krishna always comes there, and he could remember everything. He said to Arjuna, so many pastimes me and you have had in this life and in our previous life. You can't remember your previous life. I can, because Arjuna is in a material body, and so therefore he's subject to all the different elements of time and so on and so forth. So, of course, just quickly, the fourth one, Vatsalya, is the parentship. So just like feeling of a parent for the Lord. So in India they have a little bowl Krishna. You can they worship a little baby Krishna there, and that's in South India a lot. South India, the worship of Krishna. Is it the bowl Krishna?
Western part.
Huh?
Western part.
Western part of India. Yeah, and that's actually a bona fide sampradaya too. Which one? Nimbaka sampradaya. That they don't go any further than that. They just have Krishna in his baby form, and you'll see that on the altar there, and they worship him as a parent, as baby Krishna, so they lavish love on him, and that is a genuine form of worship. Of course, so then there's Mother Yasoda, the love and devotion that she felt towards her baby, and it's representative of that in the material world. So the material world, whatever's there, is just a shadow, a reflection of what's in the spiritual world. So a mother's love for a baby is a genuine emotion, and it is way deeper than any other friendship that one can feel. Right? So that emotion for Krishna is also there. And then of course there's the highest love, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always relishing, that love between Radha and Krishna, and he's spreading it onto his devotees. So all the devotees that were fortunate to be with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were just inundated in his love. Tears from his eyes were just spraying out sideways, just inundating everybody with his love. And anybody who felt that felt the love, just like we read this morning, just for those who chanted Krishna's narrated, particularly in Chaitanya Leela, it said that someone would see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he'd become mad with love of Krishna, and then he'd go and see his friends and they'd become mad with love of Krishna, and then they would see their friends and they would become mad, intoxicated, and chanting Krishna's names. That was the potency. So that is the highest. So Lord Brahma, he's in that relationship of friendship, that when he sees the Supreme Lord, he associates with him as a friend, but at the same time he's not in the illusion that that he is the creator. He knows that actually there is a supreme creator. And so that is the illusion in Kali Yuga, that people who are forgetting Krishna, turning their back on Krishna, they become very, very puffed up by their material attributes. Srila Prabhupada once gave this example. In Calcutta Temple, there was a rickshaw driver, and in the old days there used to be guys that didn't even have horses, right? They'd pull you in their rickshaw. You ever had a ride in one of them? Sort of very embarrassing a little bit, isn't it? Yeah, that you get pulled by the rickshaw driver, but still he's making money. So he's there and he's watching the devotees, and he's enjoying the chanting, he's enjoying devotional life, and some devotee come up to him and they said, "Why don't you become a devotee? You know, you're out here, why don't you come in here, become a devotee?" He said, "That sounds very good. What do I have to do?" He said, "Well, the only thing you have to do is give up smoking beedies." No, I can't do that. Beedies are these weedy little cigarettes that sort of, you know, gum leaf, you know, and he's addicted to smoking that. He can't give that up. So unfortunately that's the people's attraction in this material world, that they don't understand the proper relationship. We have people that come here on the farm that were avid cigarette smokers, and after spending like a week on the farm they forgot that they even smoked, you know, while they're on the farm. This is the potency of Krishna consciousness, or whatever other intoxication was it that we're taking. So, and the Prabhupada sums up here saying devotees of the Lord are engaged in the specific duty offered by the Lord, and such duties are successfully carried out without hindrance because they are ordained by the Lord. Credit of success goes not to the doer but to the Lord. So if we understand that everything that we do is by the Lord's mercy, that if we have some abilities and we carry them out, we feel satisfied because we understand the Lord has given us this potency. This is just a reflection of the potency of the Lord. And in this consciousness, we can maintain a healthy relationship with the Supreme Lord and then pass this consciousness on to everybody else as is there through the chanting of holy names and prasadam distribution. So, does anybody have any comments or questions that they'd like to put forth? There's all the pundits. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class. You mentioned about sometimes when people or devotees, their family, they have a desire like, to get a job or to get married. So how would you address that? Because that need is there in a Krishna conscious way, like utilizing their psychophysical nature and work for Krishna, but then also being rightly situated so they can focus on the main thing, which is
Thank you. So the question is that in this world that we have to exist, so people need to work and maintain themselves. So those people, if they're approaching Krishna, what is the relationship between maintaining yourself and remaining Krishna conscious? Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it does give you that process where you have karma yoga, that you engage. Karma means that there's an action-reaction, but by performing karma yoga in Krishna consciousness, that your activities, even though you have to maintain your family, you have to get an education, whatever, the ultimate goal is that you use whatever activity that you've developed in your existence in enhancing your service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's just like in the cities we have so many communities now, the Indian community, they're doctors and they're engineers and accountants and what have you, and they have their Bhakti Vriksha program, and they're really well united, and they come together and they have feasts and they worship Krishna and they have bhajans and they spread the word. So the message is, Lord Chaitanya said, spread the word, spread the chanting, the Hare Krishna mantra throughout the whole world. So there is no one set definition of doing it. I suppose we can consider ourselves very fortunate if we are full-time devotees living in the temple and following the process of sadhana bhakti thoroughly, because not everyone can do that. Manusyanam sahasresu, Krishna says that. But there are different levels of Krishna consciousness, and the key fact is that people chant the holy names of the Lord, and somehow or other we try to get them to the understanding where they can come to that platform where they understand that they have a relationship with the Supreme Lord. And from the point of view of bhakti, it is such a wonderful relationship because it starts with friendship. It doesn't go to reverence. So we know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but we have the deities here, and when we look at Krishna so beautifully, we're trying to make a connection there that Krishna is in our heart, he's our friend, he's our benefactor, he's our well-wisher, he's everything like that. So it's like a jump. We're starting in third gear, like you're starting your car in third gear. This is Bhakti Yoga. How good is that? Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
The other part about as devotees come
want to change their ashrams. Okay, so some devotees, well, obviously nearly all devotees come. No, actually, a lot of devotees come in different ashrams. So the devotees who are single and they want to change their ashrams, and meaning that they want to get married and become grihasta, change to grihasta ashram, then there is a shift. There is what you call adjustment of paradigms that you have to reevaluate. Sometimes it is easy in the beginning when you have a husband and wife. You have a triangle. You have the husband, you have wife, and you have Krishna. So it's a beautiful triangle that the cooperation is there between partners to serve Krishna. But it does become slightly more difficult when children come along, and then you actually form a grihasta ashram. That's when the word ashram really sinks in, that you have an ashram, you have other living entities that you have to look after. And it is a juggle. So it is said that first you have to take shelter of the spiritual master, you have to take shelter of your god brothers, and you use whatever ability you can to stay Krishna conscious. Not only you keep your vows, so at this point in time, all the vows, no meat eating, no gambling, no listening, no intoxication, chanting 16, they're your guides. So use them as the guides to go through this type of ashram, because ultimately in Krishna consciousness, what is really nice, that if you do go through the grihasta ashram, you understand that later on you come out at the end that there is a vanaprastha. It doesn't mean that you separate from your wife. It means that you and your wife relinquish a lot of material duties, just naturally happens. It's called downsizing in the material world, right? That you downsize, you focus more on your activities with Krishna. So it's a very wonderful culture. So that's just okay. Okay, I think I'll quit while the going's good. Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam.